So today's question for you is how much thought have you given to your website footer? If you're like most organizations, probably not much, because most of the time the footer, if I'm being honest, it's kind of an afterthought. Like at the very end, you sort of slap that sucker on, put in the privacy policy and be done with it. Um, we're going to talk about how it really shouldn't be, and particularly for government contractors, because there is so much critical information and it can be used so strategically. So I'm Erica Dickstein with Spring Insight.
I'm Laura Mayer, also with Spring Insight.
Awesome. So let's start out by talking about just in big picture, why is the website footer so important?
Well, right off the bat, it's on every single page, right? Every single page, and there's a kind of a certain format that users have come to expect. They know it's a great place as the company or the organization to reinforce some of that information. And it's also great because our users can then come down and quickly find any information that they're looking for as well.
Yeah, it's a great point about it being on every page. And I'm always surprised when I think about the footer, right? Intellectually, we spend a lot of time on that upper part of the page with the primary navigation and sort of the information that's above the primary navigation. We think a lot of time thinking about that and thinking about how to best portray that information. And then yet the bottom of the page sort of does get kind of forgotten about. And yet I would argue that the strategic value is probably even more important down there because that is where clients look and know to look for certain information.
Yeah.
Um, so let's actually expand upon that. What are some things that just every organization needs to make sure are in that footer? You mentioned previously reinforcing some of the information. So are you thinking
Yeah.
about links there?
Well, for sure. But, number one, you absolutely have to have your contact information down there. Whether it's a link to your chatbot or your physical address or a telephone number, an email, preferably all of those things, right? That's where your user, no matter where they are in your site, if they get lost down in your sitemap somewhere, they know they can find your contact information in the footer. You mentioned other links too. That and any quick links, that's where we want to go. If your business does something very specific, or you have a page that has a very high page view, you want to make sure you have a quick link for that down in the bottom. We're also going to look for those kind of nuts and bolts but technical requirements for your website. You need to have a privacy policy. You need to have a copyright down at the bottom. You might want to include organizational details, right? So this is a great place to just get a quick snap and the summary, a summary jumping point to the other bits of information you might want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Actually, just thinking in terms of 2024, you actually also might want to put in your WCAG compliance. So, are you are you accessibility compliant? That's a great place. So, for all of
Yeah,
these sort of compliance details, that's where you would put them.
yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. So, okay. So now let's move on. In particular, what this video is about government contractors. And I would argue it's even much more important for government contractors than it is for your standard website for the very simple reason that with government contractors and the way that people look for government contractors, particularly if you're looking for a sub, right? You want to be able to ascertain a couple of things very, very quickly. And the more quickly you can figure it out and sort of navigate through the mire, the more you're going to be attractive to people who are looking at you. And so a lot of people put them in the footer, and therefore it is really important to have it in the footer because you want to be one of the people who's made this as convenient as possible. So, what are some of those um, pieces of information that are specific to government contracting that you might want to put in the footer?
So number one, you need your NAICS codes and your page
Mm,
information, possibly. Definitely your NAICS codes. We had talked about this before. Often with these government contracting bids, the teams will come together very, very quickly, and the bidding process will be pretty swift. So the easier it is for a prime or a sub to come to a government contracting website and quickly see what areas they can combine powers in what that team offers, the easier it is to get your team together.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of continuing on that thought, your relevant certifications. So are you like us, a female owned business, or are you a disabled business?
A
And
veteran-owned
on
business,
veteran owned business, exactly. And by whom? Is it through the state of, is it through a state? Is it federal? What are your certifications? And making sure they're as accessible as possible. And I would argue both written out and if there are any badges, having those there as well. So you're
yeah.
really just wanting to provide as much information as possible, as quickly as possible for somebody who's putting together the team.
Yeah, that's another great area for your quick link sections where you want to include your capabilities page as well. So any contract vehicles you might have as well.
Absolutely. So making sure that those quick links include not just the standard quick links that another organization has, but those things like the capability statements that are so all important, making sure it's as easy as possible to find that.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a great conversation. And I would say that right now we are sort of to the footer of this video. So now we get to decide how to close this out and what is the critical information for this piece of the video. So what I will say is continuing to say we are with Spring Insight Marketing, and we would love to work with you if you whether you're a government contracting company or any other kind of subject matter expert. We'd love to talk to you about your website footer and any other part of your website. Please come to our website, springinsight.com, and also please register or subscribe to our channel because we're putting out great content all the time.